Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to make a birthday card using some fun stamps from Quetzalcraft. This is the cute new meerkat stamp set, and I really enjoy their animal stamp sets because they're so quirky and fun, and you can use them for any occasion. The technique I'm going to show you today is masking, and you can use this technique with any of the Quetzalcraft animal sets to make some really gorgeous cards. This video is sponsored by TopFlightStamps.com. They bring stamps from all over the world to us back here in the United States, so these are stamps you might not be able to find very easily because they're made in France. We're going to start off with a piece of white cardstock, and this is Nina Classic Crest Super Smooth cardstock, and I like this when I'm going to be using markers. I'll be using these skin tone markers by Touch New because I'm pretty much just using natural colors, and I'm going to use some rich cocoa memento ink for my stamping. I've also went ahead and cut masks out of post-it notes for all of my stamps so that it'll save a little time when we're doing our project. So I'm going to begin, and when you're using a small ink pad like this and a big stamp, you want to bring the ink pad to the stamp and just make sure you get it fully inked. Or you can use a traditional larger ink pad, but since I'm working upstairs in my office, I'll just have my little mini dewdrops here for my brown and black. I do recommend having a larger pad for those colors. I'm going to start with him and stamp him kind of over on the left-hand side. Excuse my messy stamp blocks. I keep meaning to gather them all up and clean them, but then I get all my stuff and it's just more fun to make cards, so so I don't end up doing that like I ought to. Let's see, the next one I think I'm going to do is this guy right here. He looks like he is listening to a secret. It looks like he's eavesdropping. So I'm going to do him next. And I'm going to put him kind of in the middle. Now just make sure that you get your stamp all inked up. You can get re-inkers for these ink pads as well, which is really handy. That way you don't have to get a new ink pad if they run dry. And since I do have a full size and minis of my brown and black, it's really great because I can keep both of them freshly inked. Alright, now the next one I think I'm going to do will be the little winky one. This one here where he's winking his eyes. I think I can fit him in without masking. So we'll go ahead and stamp him down next. I think this is my favorite stamping technique because you get to make scenes, so you're not just limited by what your rubber stamp does on its own, you have more options. Now what I'm going to do is put masks over these guys. And I just make sure when I'm stamping on a post-it note, I get part of the image on the sticky part. I think I got the heads on the sticky part for the most part of these. You can use post-it tape as well, or you can buy masking paper, but honestly 9 times out of 10 I'm grabbing just plain old post-it notes because they're cheap and easy. Okay, now what we're going to do is let's stamp this little pensive one here. He's thinking. We'll put him in between those two guys. Post-it notes are also nice and thin, so you shouldn't get a halo when you go to stamp. You should still get a really nice impression. Now when you stamp these guys in back, you want to make sure you go up a little higher on the paper so that it looks like they're behind them. Things lower on your paper will appear closer. So if I stamp this lower, it wouldn't make sense because it'd look like he should be in front of the guy and not in back of the guy. So just kind of keep that in mind. And now let's do, we haven't done this guy yet. We'll put him over here. He looks like he's surprised at something he just heard. I don't know what these guys are talking about. Let me know what you think these meerkats are talking about in the comments below. I love to put a story to my little stamping here. Ooh, I might overlap tails, so I'm going to go ahead and stick this mask down before I stamp the other one, just in case. I try to give him a second to dry just so the sticky on the back of the mask doesn't pick up any ink. That's happened to me before if I've been too quick. There we go, and we'll stamp our last one. We'll do this guy here with his arms crossed. And then what you want to do is save your masks. What I do is I just stick them on the back of my stamp storage panel, and I slide it back in the bag that it came in, and then I'll have it for the next time I need it. And we'll do him right there. And also try not to get like ink on your fingers and then press it to the paper, because that happens frequently. All right, so this is my index here. The shiny side is what I stick my stamps to. So I'll just stick these right on top of their pictures on the front, and that's how I'll store them so that I don't lose them and I don't have to cut them again, most importantly. So masking can be a pain to cut all those masks, but you only have to do it once. And these Quetzalcraft stamps are so fun to mask and create with that that's nice to have that option. So now what we're going to do is just color these with markers. That's the reason I use the Memento ink, is because I can color over with Copics or any other alcohol marker and they will look great. So basically, when I'm looking at the colors that I want to color with, I make myself a chart and I write the color numbers down, just scribble them out so I can see what the ink really looks like, because oftentimes on the lid it is a little deceiving what we have here. So for the tummies, I'm going to go ahead and do the tummies. I'm going to use number 25 because that's a really nice light color, and I'm going to use 107 just for a little shadow. Now if you're working on Nina colors and Nina cardstock and you're using an alcohol pen that's an earthy color, you usually can blend them quite easily. So what I will do in that case is I will start with my darkest color and kind of go around the edges of a shape, and any place I think there'd be a little bit more shadow, like maybe towards the bottom of an area. Color that in well, and then just go in with my lighter color and overlap it and spread it into the middle, and that will give me usually a really nice blend. Now here I have a little bit, it's probably too big of a jump to go from that color to this color, so what I'm going to do is go back in with this color, with my darker color, and go back around the edges. And blend it again, and you can see it's starting to mellow out and give us a nice blend. Now these are not brush tip markers, so these can be a little more tricky to blend, but with a little practice they'll work just as well as your Copics, but you do have to get used to them. Alright, so there we have a nice blend on that tummy, and you could go ahead and do that same color on all the different bellies, but then I recommend that maybe you switch it up for the fur, and the reason I recommend that is so that they're all a little bit different of color, so maybe you have the ones in front a little lighter and the ones in back a little darker, just so they stand out, so they don't all get mixed up. So I'll just show you an example of coloring this guy here. Let's pick out a few colors. Let's do 21, because that's a nice kind of reddish brown. We can do, we can use 107 for our light blending color, which is the dark that we used on that. And we could use 94, which is a darker brownish red color. And we can do that same blending technique that I showed you before, starting with the darks, because earth tones blend a little easier than other colors. If you're trying to do purple or red or a color like that, you'd want to start off with your lighter color and then do it all light, then go dark to light after you've got that priming of the lighter color in first. So I'm just going in with a little bit of this lighter color, a darker color rather. Like since I'm doing this darker one in front, I'd probably do the, I would do a lighter one in behind, just so I have a little bit of contrast. So now I'm overlapping that color I just put down and pulling it out a little bit, and that's gonna just help it blend. Keeping the previous color wet helps you keep a really nice blend on your colors. You don't want to oversaturate too much because it could end up going beyond your lines, but you can fix that by taking the clear colorless blender marker and coloring from the outside in after it's dry, and you can push that color back where you want it, especially with a neutral color like this. Those are pretty easy to repair. And then I'm going to go in with my lighter color, which I decided to use that same lighter color, the darker color on the tummy for the lighter color on the fur, and we'll see if we can get those colors to smooth out to lighter. Working pretty well. So I've just got this marker set in to review. I always get asked about like neutral tones, so I thought this was a pretty affordable set if you just needed some neutrals to maybe go with some Sharpies or something else that you had that you wanted to that you wanted to, you know, add to a little bit. And if it's not blending, you can go back over those areas. Just, you know, make sure you're not pushing ink outside of the lines. And you can smooth it over a little bit. The Nina paper is very forgiving, so I do like that. And there you go. That's pretty much how you color each one. You just change up your browns for the other colors. You know, maybe use a couple different browns, maybe more creams, whatever you want to get the colors you want. And of course, you could use bright colors, and that would be really cute too. So I have one that's already colored. So I've colored these guys, and they just look like they're having a great old time. And I am going to stick my masks back down because I want to put a background in. Now you could of course color around it with markers or colored pencils and not bother doing this, but we've already made our masks, so I think we might as well use them because we took the time to do them in the first place. Now sometimes you will end up, like if you don't have your mask on perfectly, you might end up with a little halo around your image, so just be careful to stick it down as close as you can. And sometimes with your stamping, when I cut masks, I usually try to cut inside the lines just ever so slightly so that I don't have a halo. But if you do, don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. That's just how you avoid it if you want to, when you're cutting your masks. And some of the, you know, because it's not sticky on the back of everything, some parts might lift up, so we'll need to be aware of that. We're going to use our color dusters to add some color. And those are just some brushes that you can apply ink with. I prefer them to a sponge just because I feel like it gives me a much better application and it's much smoother and softer. But of course you can do whatever you want. I want to use a shade of blue, and I'm thinking that I want to kind of be in that navy range. And since it's going to come out a lot lighter, I can use a fairly, this is blue denim, I can use a color that's pretty much a navy and it's still going to be softer than that. So what you do is you just brush the ink on your ink pad, and that's going to pick it onto the bristles. And then what I would recommend here, since we are using masks, is maybe try to use your fingers to just kind of tap down the masks, just to kind of hold them while you're brushing, just so they don't move on you. And we're going to put some soft color here. I usually go from the outside in when I'm masking. I mean when I'm inking a background, but I want to make sure I don't get ink under the post-its, so I'm actually going from the post-its out. Now I think because they're animals, it would be nice to either have a sandy color or a grassy color in the bottom, so I'm going to use some other colors for that, just to give it a, so they're not like floating in the air. I want to have a little bit of a grounding there, so I think we'll use some of this warm cocoa ink. Ink that up well, and just, you know, just be careful because the like the feet, I had it so when I cut my masks so that the sticky part would be up by the head. I just want to make sure that I'm not going to sweep ink under their feet. Although this is a brown, and if it does get on the stamped areas, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. But I do want to give them a nice, kind of a nice little shadow by their feet too. So I'm just kind of stippling, pouncing that ink up and down. Now I might need to, like, I didn't cut the mask between the legs there, so you can pinch the brushes a little bit and you can sneak in a little bit of ink if you need to, if you did that as well. And maybe just a little bit of green, so there's a little bit of vegetation wherever the meerkats are. I think they're more of a desert animal, so there wouldn't be much, but maybe just a little bit here and there. Okay, now we can take our masks off and see what we have. Oh my gosh, they're really cute. And if you want more shadow under any of these, you can use colored pencils and just kind of go in. In fact, I might do that on the areas where I have a little bit of a halo. Oops, yep, there, see, I didn't cut around those arms because I was afraid they would be a little too flimsy, so what I can do is just kind of pinch these bristles together, or I could use like a Q-tip or something. I just want to soften that bright white. And color pencils also work really well for going in and adjusting any of these things. I would just try, if like you're going in to try to match an ink color, make sure you do it in a few places so it looks natural, and I'm like going with a slightly darker brown, and I'm adding it under the feet and stuff where I do tend to get those little halo marks, but also to give it a little bit of shadow so it looks a little bit more stable and natural. Okay, and there is our colored image. I think it looks really cute. And now we're going to put together a card. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is mount this onto some orange cardstock. And I'm just going to use an adhesive runner. Center that up there. And I've got a 5x7 craft card base because I think that's just a beautiful color that works with almost everything. And I am going to put down this polka dot pattern. I've got my big Mama Jama tape adhesive roller. Oh, so nice. That's just going to come upstairs to the office. I probably should get a second one for up here. And these papers all came from the same collection. So if you ever get those stacks of paper at the craft store, usually they coordinate with each other. So if you're limited on cash, limited on space, just getting a set of papers that you like will take you a long way to create cards because they're all going to coordinate. Now you could ink all the papers. I probably should have. That probably would have looked a little better, but I've already stuck it down, so I don't want to peel it up. I've done that. I could do it for this one because I haven't stuck it down yet. And that's just a good idea sometimes. Now I'm going to set this offset this one a little bit because I have a little embellishment. And another thing I like to do is go in my scrap bin and die cut like kind of your basic shapes. I don't have a ton of die cuts, but I do have some basic ones that I think work really well. And I've got just a birthday wishes, sending you birthday wishes. And I just want to kind of layer it up a little bit. Yeah, I think I kind of like that. You know, it's a thin card, it's going to mail really easily, and it's bright and cheerful. So I just like cards that are nice to have on hand for when you have birthdays, and I like ideas that could really be suitable for different audiences, kids or adults. I think I'm just going to stack them straight up and down on each other. That will give your die cuts a little new look too. If you're just kind of getting tired of your basic shapes, stacking up some different shapes can give you a nice look. And there you have it. This card was really fun to make. And I hope you enjoyed it too. I would recommend that you ink the edges because now I'm looking at that. That would look a little bit better if I inked them with my dark brown ink that I'd been using. But other than that, it was a lot of fun, and I will link up all the products I use down below. Make sure you check out our sponsor, TopFlightStamps.com. They have an excellent selection of Quetzalcraft stamps from France, and their animals are just adorable. They have some really funny, cute people, robots, and monsters too, but I just love their animals because they are so fun and whimsical. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this card, and until next time, happy crafting!